HOA officers trespassed my farm. I put up electric fences to stop them. My farm, Blackwood Creek, is more than just dirt and grass. It is a testament to survival. My great-grandfather, Tobias Blackwood, bought these 200 acres in 1910, a time when a black man buying land in this county was an act of revolution. He paid for it with money he earned breaking wild horses and cutting timber, and he held on to it through the Depression, the Jim Crow era, and the farm crisis of the 80s. Every fence post on this property was driven by a Blackwood. Every pasture was cleared by my ancestors' hands. I'm Jeremiah Blackwood, the fourth generation to steward this land, and I run a cow-calf operation that prides itself on raising the finest Angus beef in the state. I value two things above all else: the health of my livestock and the sanctity of my privacy. For over a century, our only neighbors were the deer, the coyotes, and the occasional thunderstorm rolling over the hills. We lived in peace, separated from the noise of the world by thick timber and barbed wire. Then came the Meadows. A massive real estate developer from the city bought the old Miller Place to the east, 300 acres of prime forest that buffered my farm from the highway. They clear-cut the forest in a week, stripping the land down to bare red clay. Then, they put up 300 vinyl-sided, beige houses with postage stamp lawns, paved the roads, and slapped a gate on the front. They elected an HOA board before the paint was even dry. And they decided, in their infinite suburban wisdom, that my farm was not a working agricultural operation, but their personal green space and scenic backdrop. It started slowly, like an infection. The HOA cut walking trails through their property that led right up to my fence line. They put up benches facing my pastures. Suddenly, I had an audience every time I tried to work cattle. Then, people started hopping the fence. I'd find hikers in my south pasture, taking selfies with my bulls, completely unaware that a 2,000-pound animal can kill you in a heartbeat if he feels threatened. I'd find trash, Starbucks cups, dog poop bags, plastic wrappers, thrown into the hayfields where my cows graze. Hardware disease is real. A cow eats a piece of metal or plastic, and it kills them. I put up no trespassing signs. They tore them down. I put up private property signs. They spray-painted over them. I called the sheriff, but unless I caught them in the act, there wasn't much he could do. Then came Brenda. Brenda was the newly elected HOA president, a woman who moved from the suburbs of Atlanta with a vision of turning the Meadows into a gated utopia where she was the queen. She was a middle-aged white woman with a bob haircut and a perpetual look of dissatisfaction. She believed that community meant what belongs to me. She showed up at my barn one Tuesday morning, driving a souped-up white golf cart with flashing amber lights on the roof, flanked by two men wearing neon yellow vests that read, HOA Safety Patrol. I was greasing the combine, covered in oil and dust. I heard the electric whine of the cart and stepped out. "Excuse me," she yelled over the wind. "Turn that machine off. I need to speak to you." I wiped my hands on a rag and walked over to the fence. "Can I help you?" "I'm Brenda, the president of the Meadows HOA," she announced, adjusting her designer sunglasses. "We're doing our perimeter check. We've noticed your fence is looking a bit rustic. It's rusted barbed wire. It doesn't match the community aesthetic we're trying to cultivate. Also, we've had reports of smells coming from this direction. Unpleasant, organic odors. We need to inspect your manure management protocols." "You need to what?" I asked, assuming I misheard her. "Inspect," she said, pulling a clipboard out. "We're the HOA Patrol. We have jurisdiction over anything that impacts the quality of life in the Meadows. That includes odors, visual blights, and noise pollution. Your tractor is very loud." "Ma'am," I said, keeping my voice low and steady, trying to be the neighbor my father taught me to be. "I am not in your HOA. This is a working cattle farm. It smells like cows because there are 200 cows here. That fence is standard agricultural barbed wire. And you are trespassing." "We are not trespassing," she huffed, her face turning a shade of pink. "We are patrolling. We have a right to ensure the safety of our perimeter. We'll be conducting weekly checks of this fence line to make sure your animals don't pose a threat to our children. And frankly, this whole operation looks like a junk pile." One of the men, a guy named Steve who looked like he was aching for a conflict, sneered. "Yeah, we don't want any trouble from you people. Just keep your side clean, and maybe we won't have to get the county involved." There it was. You people. It hung in the air, heavy and ugly. They didn't see a landowner. They didn't see a businessman. They saw a black man with something they wanted to control. They saw a servant who needed supervision. Get off my land, I said, pointing to the property line. And don't come back. If I catch you on this side of the fence again, I will press charges. We'll go where we please. Brenda shouted as they drove off, kicking up dust. This is for the greater good. You don't own the view. They didn't stop. In fact, they escalated. They came back the next week. And the week after, they started cutting my wire fence. I'd go out in the morning and find the strands snipped, rolled back to create a gate big enough for their patrol cart. They were driving on my pastures. They were treating my land like their own personal off-road course. The breaking point came on a Friday. I went out to check the herd and found the fence cut wide open. 3 of my prize heifers had wandered out into the subdivision. I found them standing in a cul-de-sac, surrounded by screaming suburbanites. Brenda was there, screaming that my beasts were attacking. It took me 3 hours to round them up and get them back in. One of the heifers had cut her leg on a lawn ornament. The vet bill was $600. Brenda stood there the whole time, threatening to sue me for the damage to the grass. You can't manage your animals, she screamed. We have to patrol to keep us safe. If you can't keep them in, we'll seize them. That was the last straw. I realized then that signs wouldn't stop them. The sheriff's warnings wouldn't stop them. Being polite wouldn't stop them. They felt entitled to my land because they felt entitled to me. They thought they were the masters of the universe, and I was just an inconvenience. I decided to introduce them to the laws of physics, specifically electricity. I didn't call the police again. I went to the farm supply co-op. I bought a Gallagher M10000I fence energizer. This isn't a pet fence. This is the kind of charger designed to keep bulls in and bears out. It stores 10 output joules and pulses 10,000 volts of electricity every second. It won't kill a human, but it will make you wish you were dead for about 5 minutes. It hits like a mule kick to the chest. I bought 3 spools of high-tensile aluminum wire. I bought extended insulators. I spent all Saturday working. I didn't touch the outer barbed wire fence, the one they kept cutting. I left that there as a decoy. Instead, I ran 3 strands of the high-tensile wire about 2 feet inside the property line, hidden slightly by the tall grass I left uncut for this exact purpose. I grounded the system with 3 6-foot copper rods driven deep into the moist earth. A good ground is the secret to a hard shock. I hooked up the charger. I tested it with a fault finder. It registered 9.8 kilovolts. Perfect. I put up bright yellow signs every 50 feet along the outer fence. Warning, electric fence. High voltage. Do not touch. I cleared the brush around the signs so they were impossible to miss. I wanted them to be warned. I wanted them to know. But I knew, deep down, that Brenda's arrogance would blind her to the danger. She wouldn't read the signs because she didn't believe I had the power to stop her. Saturday evening rolled around. It was dusk, that time of day when the shadows stretch long and the world turns gray. I was sitting on my porch, drinking iced tea, watching the fence line through a pair of binoculars. Sure enough, at 7:45 p.m., I saw the headlights. The white HOA security golf cart bounced across my pasture. They had cut the outer fence again, further down the line this time. They were driving on my land, fully committed to their trespass. Brenda was driving. Steve was riding shotgun. Another guy was in the back. They were laughing. They looked like they owned the place. They stopped the cart near the barn, right where I had set up the new inner perimeter. They got out to inspect my equipment. I watched as they approached the high-tensile wire. In the dim light, the thin aluminum wire was almost invisible against the backdrop of the trees. They walked right past the yellow warning sign I had planted on a post. They were so focused on looking for violations that they missed the threat right in front of their faces. Steve was the first one. He reached out to grab what he thought was a loose piece of wire to move it aside. "Look at this trash," I heard him say, his voice carrying in the quiet air. "He just leaves wire hanging." He grabbed the wire with his bare hand. Snap crack. The sound was loud, sharp, and violent. It sounded like a .22 rifle going off. A visible blue spark arched from the wire to Steve's hand. Steve didn't just let go. The electricity contracted his muscles so hard that he was thrown backward as if he'd been tackled by a linebacker. He let out a high-pitched scream, a yelp that sounded nothing like a tough guy, and flew into Brenda. Brenda, caught off guard, stumbled. She reached out to steady herself. She grabbed the wire. Snap! She screamed. It was a blood-curdling shriek. She fell into the mud, twitching, her hair standing on end. The third guy, seeing his comrades fall, tried to run back to the cart, tripped over a root, and face-planted into a cow pie. My arm! My arm! Steve yelled, clutching his hand to his chest, rolling in the dirt. My heart! It stopped my heart. Brenda was sobbing, hyperventilating. He shot us. He shot us with a laser. Help! Murder! I put down my binoculars. I finished my tea. I walked down the hill, flashlight in hand, taking my sweet time. When I got there, they were a mess. Muddy, terrified, and defeated. I didn't shoot you, I said, shining the light directly into Brenda's face. She recoiled like a vampire. You trap, she sputtered. You electrified the air. That's illegal. You hurt him. I'll sue you. I'll own this farm. You tried to kill the president. I didn't electrify the air, Brenda, I said, moving the beam of light to the bright yellow sign right next to Steve's head. I electrified the fence. Like the sign says. Warning, electric fence. Can't you read? Or do you think signs don't apply to you either? It hurts, Steve moaned. I can't feel my fingers. You touched a hot wire, Steve, I said. That's 10,000 volts. It's designed to stop a 2-ton bull. What did you think it would do to a trespassing HOA patrolman? We were patrolling. Brenda shrieked. You have no right. I have every right, I said. This is a legal agricultural fence. On private property. Properly signed. You cut my outer fence to break in. That's criminal trespass. That's destruction of property. And frankly, it's stupidity. I pulled out my phone. I'm calling the sheriff. And this time, he's not just giving a warning. Sheriff Miller arrived 20 minutes later. He saw the cut-outer fence. He saw the golf cart parked on my grass. He saw the warning signs. And he saw the sobbing, muddy HOA patrol. He didn't just smile. He laughed. He laughed so hard he had to lean on his cruiser. Brenda, Miller said, wiping a tear from his eye. Let me get this straight. You broke into a cattle pasture, drove past a no trespassing sign, walked up to a sign that said high voltage, and then grabbed the wire? And you want me to arrest Jeremiah? He set a trap, she wailed. It's a booby trap. It's a fence, Brenda, Miller said. It keeps the cows in. It keeps the idiots out. Seems like it's working perfectly. They were arrested. All 3 of them. Criminal trespass. Destruction of property. Brenda resisted, screaming that she had authority, that she knew the governor, that I was a menace. She added resisting arrest to her charges. Steve tried to sue for his injury and emotional distress. The judge threw it out in 5 minutes because Steve was in the commission of a crime when he got shocked. In legal terms, a trespasser assumes the risk of the hazards of the property, especially when warned. The lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice, and Steve was ordered to pay my legal fees. The aftermath was swift. The story spread through the meadows like wildfire. HOA president shocked by farmer. The residents, tired of Brenda's tyranny and embarrassed by the arrest, voted to remove the entire board. They fired the management company. The new board reached out to me. They were apologetic. They offered to pay for the repairs to my outer fence. They built a solid privacy wall on their side of the property line to keep residents out. I haven't seen a golf cart on my land since. But I kept the fence hot. I walked the perimeter every evening, listening to the hum of the charger. It's a comforting sound. It's the sound of boundaries being respected. Brenda moved away a few months later. I heard she tried to join another HOA board in the next county, but her reputation preceded her. As for me, I'm still here. My cows are safe. My land is quiet. And every time I hear a snap crack in the night, I smile, knowing the fence is doing its job. That I have a question for you guys. Was the electric fence too dangerous, or was it the perfect non-lethal way to protect my property from intruders? Let me know in the comments below. If you liked seeing these entitled trespassers get a jolt of reality, smash that like button and subscribe, and check out the next story.